Next in the user interface controls is the text field control. The text field is our first user entry control, meaning the user actually enters values into the control. The text field is a basic text box, or if you're familiar with web programming, an input control. So let's take a look at that. We're going to go onto our view controller, and in our object library, we'll find our text field. And we'll put that right up top here and widen it out a bit. I'm also going to add a button. And a label. And we will call our button a submit button. And the label will just reflect the user input. And here's our text field control. And we can do similar properties that we did with the label in terms of fonts and colors and such. We can also use one more property, which is pretty important, which is the placeholder. And you may have seen this effect where there's some gray text in a text field, but then when the user starts actually typing into the text field or making an entry, that placeholder text goes away. So it's a nice way of creating a user input form if you're a little bit tight on space without using a label to indicate what the text box or text field is for. You can just put in placeholder text and skip the space for the label. Okay, so this is our basic layout, and now we want to establish our connections. We'll first create an outlet for our text field. A referencing outlet, that is. We'll create an outlet for our label. And we'll create an event for our button. And a little bit of space. And going back to the different events, we have a number of events for the text field itself. So we can see when the user has actually entered the text field, when they've actually when they've actually created an entry. So there are other things that we can do with the text field in terms of its events. But we'll go with this for now. And we'll start off by just setting our text field's text at the beginning of our application. And we just set the text property. Now note that this is going to kill our placeholder. And we'll take a look at that when we run it. And now when the button is touched, we want to set the label text equal to the text field text. So pretty simple. And we'll run that. And you can see my placeholder text is gone. But when I remove the entry, the placeholder text is visible. And we'll type in our entry and click on the button, and the label updates just as we would expect. Okay, so that's great. Now let's go back to those events. On the text field, I have an event called editing changed, and I also have an event called value changed. So let's go with value changed. And we're going to do the same thing on value changed as we did on the button touched. Oops, excuse me. Let's see that effect. So there's my entry. And you can see when I change it, nothing happens, because we're not actually changing the value per se. So the other one that we're interested in is editing changed. And again, the same code. And we'll run this. And now we get the result we expected. Okay, perfect. So now you can see the difference between the value changed event, which doesn't really have an effect for this control, and the editing changed. So that's what we can do with the text field.